The Delta surge is pushing some hospitals in hot zones to their limit. Doctors say they're running out of beds.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down.
I think, frankly, this was the week that vaccinated America started to get really fed up. And that's why we're seeing more talk about mandates.
Those scientists were very well respected in the scientific community, internationally.
Why not just provide the number? Are you trying to hide something?
No, but why do you need to have that information?
I am terrified that the Supreme Court may actually overturn Roe v. Wade. There's a real live handmaiden on the Supreme Court. We all know a Brett Kavanaugh. We all went to school with a Brett Kavanaugh. The privilege of this guy during his confirmation hearing. We saw white man rage on full display for everybody. And he had the temerity and the privilege to talk about how much he loved beer.
What a bunch of sick bastards living in this freaking country. I'll tell you, man, he had the temerity. Remember he had the temerity to talk about beer, Alice? Mm-hmm. That was showing his privilege. You people, this woman there, she's adult. Her name is Tiffany Cross. She's a dumb person with a dumb brain who says idiotic things. I'm sure she's credentialed to the hilt, but she's an idiot on an idiotic network called MSNBC, which is sister networks to CNN, which is also an idiotic network full of idiots. We have hit such base level idiocy now that I don't even know where to begin. And it's fine. It's fine. It's where we are. That's fine. Like I said in the Substack today, really at this point it comes down to just leave us the hell alone. Leave us the hell alone. Don't bother us. I don't want your idiot culture or your stupid government bothering me. That's it. That's it. I got Pfizer to hand me a vaccine. I took them. I think it was Pfizer. I took something.
You took Pfizer,
Somebody
yes.
injected me with something. Brian Stelter watched, lathering himself as it happened. And I got my vaccine. Thank you for that, for being part of that government. I appreciate that. Now, go screw. I don't want you checking on me. I don't want your media asking questions of who got vaccinated, who didn't. I don't want to die of the vaccine and then finally find that I had a post ridiculing the vaccine so that you guys can laugh at me. And in media posts like ABC did, laugh and celebrate the fact that a 30-something-year-old black guy who died was a big anti-vaxxer too. Ha ha. And they put that in the headlines. I've seen that all over the place. There are all these headlines all over the place. When somebody dies, the Linda Dwern from, it's Dwern, right? Zern from the Cape, from the Cape Cod in Massachusetts. She was critical of the vaccines. Now she's dead. As they laugh and jump all over her. You can see, if you get my Substack today, I wrote about it today. The people just said, I just took one screenshot of some of the things. You guys, the progressives on the left, are so angry and salty and vile that it's not far beneath the surface. It comes up so easily and quickly. And the real you showed. And the same thing goes for the freaking cowardly moron. Who accosted Tucker Carlson in Montana. Some big dumbass bully who went after Tucker Carlson, said you're the worst person on the earth. You're the worst person. You killed people. You killed people, etc. First of all, if you're stupid enough to think that somehow you're exacting revenge for somebody's mean TV segment by calling him out and getting to him in person with his daughter's hair, one, you don't know media at all. You don't know show business at all, and you're a freaking empty-headed twit. And once again, the left now is thrilled because Tucker Carlson, they got up in his face. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Tucker deserves it. He has it coming. You're the worst person in the world. And this idiot, I'll play the audio. It's not great audio, but Tucker's in this tackle shop, essentially. It's a sporting goods shop in Montana. And this moron comes over, and you're the worst person in the world. Tucker says, shh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about it. I don't care what you think about me. Can you be quiet about my daughter? And the guy's having none of it.
I don't care, man. Okay, just dude, you are the worst human being known to mankind. I want you to know that what you have done to this state, to the United States, to everything else in this world, I don't care that your daughter's here. What you've done to people's families, what you have done to everybody else in this society, son.
what you have done to families, what you've done to everybody else. At one point, Tucker looks over and notices that this oaf's friend or whatever had the camera. Mm-hmm. So obviously they want to get him. What you have done to families, what you've done to everything. What has he done to families? What has he done to families? Should he say what he doesn't believe about the vaccines? Should that be it? All Tucker has said is that these vaccines have not gone through all the testing of normal vaccines. They have not been licensed, and they haven't been licensed. All he has said is that it's fair to ask questions. Mm-hmm. And so is he not?
It's the same thing Kamala said, and all the doctors.
But
said,
hold on, this is a guy. Should he not be expressing his position, his belief, based on his own research and intellect? And should he not be, because we got to force more people into vaccines? Should we all suspend all our own versions of truth all at once, like Fauci did, like the administration does and did last week? And Jen Psaki said, hey, well, DeSantis is putting kids at risk. Kids will be at risk if they don't wear the mask. Is that what it is? No, either you lie or we get to bully you wherever you go. You all have to lie. You all have to lie. No, that's not how this works whatsoever. And I don't want to hear about this fealty to a cause, man. There are plenty of people not getting vaccines for plenty of reasons, okay? Mm-hmm. And if it's fealty to a cause, where was the goddamn fealty to the cause of any of the wars we were in the early 2000s, when the left was thrilled to talk about how terrible our troops were in Abu Ghraib and whatever they could? All of the questioning for George W. Bush in Rumsfeld was, you're lying about how good this is going. You're lying about how this is going. Mm-hmm. In other words, emboldening enemy troops whenever they could. This is BS. This is BS. What do you want Tucker? What are the things that Tucker should say to you? What do they want him to say? You absolutely need to go out and get vaccines. I think Tucker is pro-vaccine, but he's also pro-asking questions. It's okay to be pro-asking questions. Mm-hmm. This guy, Tucker Carlson, he is not a marquee TV star. He is a thoughtful, intellectual guy who was a writer long before he was doing any of the glamour shot TV stuff. He's got opinions. He's got thoughts. He also oftentimes is he's a man on an island in a lot of things. When he suggested that maybe the officer at the Capitol hadn't been killed by the mob because there was no proof, they all yelled at him and said, you crazy bastard, you crazy bastard. But he said, there's no proof, huh? There's no proof. Well, he was vindicated. He was right about that. This guy sticks himself out there a lot of times, and a lot of times he's right. He didn't buy the general horse bleep that we were told to buy about Russian troll farms in the election and all that stuff. He didn't buy any of that stuff. The whole time these same people said, well, yes, it has to be. It has to be that the election was handed to Trump. It has to be. You're the worst person in the world, Tucker, for saying that. You're the worst person in the world. No. This, first of all, just on a personal level, there's very little else more cowardly than going up to a guy in a tackle shop who's with his daughter. I know you feel like tough people for doing it, for saying he's the worst person in the world, but it's just sucky, and it's low, and it's cowardice, and it just shows you. It just shows you the. I almost wonder if it wouldn't be beyond the realm if Tucker would even set this kind of thing up, because what it does. No, I'm not. It's my own imagination. Forget that. What this does, the fact that they're so when everyday people and thoughtful people in media, etc., celebrate them being mean to a guy out in the street,
right?
Them hassling him somewhere and being a bully to him, that tells you when they're willing to set aside all of their human decency, all of these principles of benevolence and empathy that they claim to have. It just shows you how much they hate him, which means it shows you how effective Tucker is.
Yeah.
This whole it's vile. They can do it every day. It just makes Tucker bigger. You know what? Do you want to go and and throw an ice water at his head and harangue him and throw people out? That's fine, because it's there. It's there for everybody to see. You're the worst person in the world. I had somebody at the Lowell Sun last year who said, "I'm sick of masks," and a woman said, "You killed my parents." And he had to sit there and take it, and people pile on him, And the guy just said he's sick of wearing masks. It's okay to say, and people are acting their worst. And these are the same people going after Tucker, like we said, who are celebrating the deaths of conservatives and Trump fans who've died from COVID.
Yeah, they're
love
thrilled.
it.
They're thrilled. Imagine the insanity when we have, and this is, I mean, like, if you Google this guy's name who went to the Hillsong Church, who happened to have tweeted once, I've got 99 problems and a vaccine one, right? He happens to be a person of color, but he's just a private citizen. He's not an activist. He's not on TV every night. He's not a public figure. He's not an elected official. He's done nothing to anybody. He just tweeted he wasn't getting a vaccine, and he died of COVID. So what did they do? Now his picture that he had sent out when he was asking for people's prayers as he was dying in the hospital is now plastered into every stupid newspaper and website in this country. It's on CNN. It's on, I mean, and there are sites that I like that aren't immune from this either. It's on the New York Post. It's on everywhere. If you search the guy's name, I think it's Stephen Harmon. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
He's everywhere with his picture of him dying, asking people for prayers, and people are gleeful about it. It's disgusting. It's like the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't think you should be
no.
He shouldn't be in the newspapers. Leave his poor family alone. What the heck is wrong with people? I can't. It's like the most ghoulish, disgusting behavior I think I've ever seen. And it's like, it's bad enough when they do it with people who are like activists, or like the congressman who died of COVID or whatever before he could even take office, the guy who was elected. You know, that's bad enough, but those are public figures. Now you're like dancing on the graves of random private citizens, people who live around you, who are your neighbors and friends, because they happen to make a different medical choice than you. I mean, like, do you do that when your neighbor who smokes died of lung cancer? Do you put it on the front page of the newspaper and you say, idiot who didn't believe that smoking causes cancer finally dies, ha ha, and like all like post it on your page? It's the most disgusting behavior I think I've ever seen.
It is, absolutely. And they justify it by saying, no, there's this new, we've seen this happen over the last year. There's this new obsession with, no, you're killing me. Mm-hmm. So that's why I can laugh, because you tried to kill me. You tried to kill me. And this thing, this need, we saw it all last year, this whole need to say, I'm wearing the mask for you, but you don't care. You're killing me. You're killing Grandma, Bethany Mandel. You're killing all the grandmothers. You know, this need to have that. And then they lost it for a little while because of the vaccine came in, and then the rates went down. Mm-hmm. Then the Delta variant came around, and now they had it again. Yes, you're killing. I can find, even though now they're vaccinated. Right. We're no longer killing them anymore, but it's still, well, you're killing somebody. Yes, you still are. Somehow I'm still a victim. Somehow it'll be my child, my 11-year-old, who still dies because of this. You're still somehow killing us, okay? And it's like, you can't just have a debate. It has to be an emotional, I have to emotionally place myself in a position of a victim, of a homicide victim, and you're the murderer. And so because that's happening, because I have this emotional need, you know, that gives me full license to be the most vile POS in the earth. So if you're somebody who's laughing at somebody's death because that person you feel was bad, or if you're somebody who's harassing Tucker Carlson and you're acting like a jerk because Tucker Carlson was saying something that you believe is terrible, and you act in those ways, but you think they're justified, you are simply a vile and disgusting, bottom-feeding human being. Doesn't matter how you rationalize it. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, I had to do this because I had to do this because, no, this means to an end. Doesn't matter. Especially since they've been awful now for 5 years.
Well, and I think that, of course, they're not going to do any self-reflection or, you know, think about the Capitol attack, anything other than Trump as a racist white supremacist who, you know, made his racist white supremacist fans do an insurrection. They're not going to get beyond that because they're children. But if they did a little bit of self-reflection about the whole Capitol thing, then they might notice that after they spent a year excusing rioting and looting and general bad behavior in the name of political goals, then they would think about the fact that maybe that influenced some of the people who were at a peaceful protest to think that that type of behavior was okay. You had people setting government buildings on fire and CNN standing in front of them and saying it was peaceful. So then the idea that maybe influenced some people to think that form of protest was an appropriate way to behave, like, they just never think ahead to the next step. It's the same thing as with the filibuster. They're like, we're going to get rid of the filibuster for judicial nominees, and then, like, oops, now Trump can appoint whoever he wants. They just, like, they don't think ahead one step to, if we justify this, the other side's going to do it too. If they justify this type of behavior for, protesting over whatever structural racism or whatever thing that they believe in, then other people are going to do it for things that they disagree with.
Yes, but exactly. But you know what these are? These are emotional reactionaries. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. Everything else is set aside. And it's remarkable. I was watching this stuff from the punks in New York. Some Antifa punks descended. They descended upon a piece of property that they had considered their own, even though they didn't own it. They were squatting in it. So the rightful owners were starting to do some work to it, and the Antifa descended upon them. And then one of these, a guy like Andy No, one of these independent journalists, was filming them. And, of course, the Antifa punk started to get in his face. And then the woman opens up the umbrella, and she's pushing him with him. And while he's saying, stop pushing me, she's pushing the umbrella at him. He's stopping the umbrella, and she's screaming, don't you dare touch it. Don't you touch me. You're assaulting me. And she's pleading for the cops. So they will do both. They're not going to ever have to have a reckoning at all. She's allowed to hit him with a bat. If he catches the bat and tries to hit her back, she's a victim, and the story begins and ends right there. Right. Everything else is cut out of it. It's crazy. So we talked this morning to Jamie B., who's a guy on Twitter. He's a minifan. He's in Australia, and he is in New South Wales, and he's near Sydney. Yep. And we've played all these psychos. You've heard them all. The crazy people saying, "Don't be friendly in the grocery store. Don't be talking to people. Don't be friendly. Stay in your place. Sector 5 is locked down. They're locked down. Make sure, what did you say? Lock yourself in.
You're going to be sealed shut,
et cetera, et cetera." And Jamie B is in the middle of all this stuff. We don't. I don't know when you want to play it. We can play it now, or you can play it later if you want.
We can play it now. But yeah, so we had Jamie B on this morning to talk to us about, like, what it's really like there, what's going on.
Yeah, good everything. Man. For him, it was like
11:30
at night. And by the way, you can find him at Twitter at JustJamieB90, and he's also on the Circle in Rectangle show on Twitter. I will follow that right now, which is a soccer show. They cover soccer in Australia and the world as well. And he's a good dude. He's in pretty good cheer considering. And by the way, this is a guy who also, they've done everything right. This is a guy who does not want, you've seen protests in the street of Australia, and you've seen all sorts of chaos, whatever. He just wants to get the hell out of his house. So he doesn't want people protesting in the streets. It's killing him to have to be in there. But he just wants some normalcy. He's got a little kid.
A 4-year-old that he hasn't seen in more than a month.
And a wife, right. He doesn't get to see these people. This existence he's living is not great, but he was in good cheer regardless. You can also follow the at CINR show as well. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy his perspective. This is our new friend from Down Under, Jamie B.
Hi, everybody. We are here talking to Jamie B. from Twitter, one of the hosts of the Circle and Rectangle show. If you're into Australian sports, then you can go ahead and listen to that. I have to admit, I haven't listened. Sorry, Jamie.
The Circle in Rectangle show. I see their Facebook page right here. By the way, are you... it's Armageddon over there, so this is maybe ridiculous to ask. But are you even watching the Olympics?
Yeah, I watched the Olyroos, our men's soccer team, play today, and I think I must have missed the Australian basketball team. But other than that, not really, to be honest. So
yeah. So, Alice, I guess you can...
So we have Jamie on. We wanted to ask him more about the situation there in Australia because he let us know that you haven't seen your girlfriend and your kid in, like, how long? Weeks?
5 weeks. Yeah.
5 weeks. Wow, because of the lockdowns there. So and it's getting even stricter now at this point too.
Yeah, at the start it was, you could travel around the city but you couldn't leave the Greater Sydney area, and now it's pretty much everyone in Sydney. It's almost like there's an iron circle around this. We can't go anywhere. So because they live in a regional town 6 hours north of where I am, yeah, there's just no way. They have police blockades sort of on major arterial roads out of the city, and I think it's $1,000 fine. I've heard people report if you get busted traveling to a regional town from a Sydney area. So it's just not worth it.
And that's even though that's like where you live, right?
Yeah, that's my home. It's my home on the driver's license, and I still can't go home.
So this woman is Dr. Kerry Chant. She is the overlord authoritarian in your region, right?
Yep, she's our New South Wales Health Chief Health Doctor, something like that. Dr. Kerry Chant.
Yes, she is.
We need to limit our movements. We need to consider whenever we leave our house that anyone with us, anyone we come into contact with, could convey the virus. So whilst it is in human nature to engage in conversation with others, to be friendly, unfortunately, this is not the time to do that. So even if you run into your next door neighbour in the shopping centre, in the Coles, whilst you're at Coles, Woolworths or Aldi or any other grocery shop, don't start up a conversation. Now is the time for minimising your interactions with others. Even if you've got a mask, do not think that affords total protection. We want to be absolutely sure that as we go about our daily lives, we do not come into contact with anyone else that would pose a risk.
So, Jamie, I know that you guys you're isolated. Obviously, you're on an island. So you've been dealing with these health ministers and all these other bureaucrats now for a year and a half, but especially in the last few months. You do realize, and I want you to know if you don't, that person is a psychotic.
Oh, no, I'm very well aware.
And
much aware.
These news reports we've heard out of Australia, out of Sydney, saying, stay in your freaking precinct 12. Nobody's allowed to move there. And what was it? The shut off, close yourself off. What is it?
Sealed shut.
Sealed shut. Make sure you're sealed shut. This is freaking dystopian craziness that's happening, Jamie.
Yeah. It's eerie. Like, I work in the trains, during the week. It's usually busy, packed, every station you pull into. Sometimes thousands of people on a platform. Now it's just dead. We're running weekend timetables, and really past 7, 8 o'clock at night, there's really no point. My roommate and I went to the shops today to get some things because we were running low, and then we're told when we got there, it's click and collect only. Like, you can't actually go into the shop and pick what you want and get it. You have to order online, then go and get it. So that was a bit annoying, but it's...
Is click and collect a term that was known before the pandemic?
It was, but okay. It wasn't widely used.
Right.
Is that like our curbside pickup?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
But it's interesting how the government can normalize this stuff. So you're used to it now. It's just click and collect, get out. Huh. So like you guys last year at this time, Australia was way ahead, and everybody's saying, "Wow, these guys did it right."
Yep.
He sealed off the country, and you seem to be on a good path. And of course, now the Delta variant is there. Has reached there, and there's only 10% or so of Australians
12%, but yeah,
are vaccinated. So who fucked up here exactly?
With the vaccine thing, we don't have enough, and the panic of the AstraZeneca causing blood clots meant that a lot of people have decided not to get it if they're under 50. I got it. I didn't really care. My missus is studying medicine, so she said, just ask your doctor, you'll be fine. So I got the first dose. I'm trying to encourage my mates to at least ask the doctor to get checked to see if they can get it. But that's a big thing that the federal government kind of really screwed up on. They don't have enough vaccines. They tell us, hey, go get vaccinated and this can all end. But like, my roommate goes and says, hey, I want to get this vaccination. Oh yeah, you can't. You're not eligible yet. So the miscommunication there, they're pushing us to get vaccinated, but when you apply, you can't. And then, statewide, I guess we had a cluster bust out like at the start of the year. They managed to isolate it to the northern part of Sydney, cut it all off and isolate that instead of doing all of Sydney. This time, for some bizarre reason, eastern Sydney the eastern suburbs is where it started. They didn't lock it down, and it spread out to the west. The west is where most of the population lives now, and it's just spread like wildfire. So, which really just screwed us. So it's multi-levels. Both state and federal have completely screwed us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts because it feels like some of these places should have had more time. Like, I was blown away, too, with the Olympics when they said, like, only 25% of the people in Japan are vaccinated and they're worried about holding it here. And like, because we had been hearing, we got a lot of shit from the rest of the world for how we screwed up. Like, the US is so terrible, they messed it up. Look at Australia, look at New Zealand, look at Japan. They did it right. They closed it off. They shut everything down, and now they're all fine having parties with no masks because they have no COVID, and you guys are all like, you screwed up in America. Like, and now it's like, well, you guys had so much time. How come nobody's vaccinated? How come nothing? Like, how come this is going on?
Yep. We, like you said, we were happy. We had crowds at our sporting events last year, and everything sort of went, like, the season's all started. The soccer season here finished not long ago. Thank God it did, because we had crowds at the final.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're back to where we were, midway through 2020. Everything shut down. There's only really one state. The two northern states are not as shut down as we are, Queensland and the Northern Territory, but us, Victoria, South Australia, and WA are all heavy lockdowns. It's spreading like wildfire, as this Delta variant seems to do. And
wow,
and we dropped the ball. Like you said, we had it. We're an island.
Yeah, and no word of like how long this lasts or when this goes to, or this is just like forever until enough people are vaccinated.
So at the moment, we've been told the end of July we're supposed to open up. The fact that the cases are still over 100 and in the community is still kind of high. Today was a lot less, but everyone's worried about the next coming week. But at the moment, it's the end of July. They're probably going to reevaluate it middle of next week, and we're going to find out that we're going to be extended. They're talking until the end of August at the moment, but some people are speculating it could be middle of September to end of September. So, yeah, it sucks.
We're talking to Jamie B. It's just Jamie B on Twitter. Just Jamie B90 on Twitter. And obviously we'll tweet this out. But so people have had enough. We're seeing all sorts of videos from Melbourne and Sydney and other areas, big cities, where people are just going out there saying, F this, we can't stand it. We want to live like people again. Do you see this subsiding and people going back in, or is this thing blown wide open now?
So at the moment, it seems like it was a one-off sort of thing. It was actually right outside my work. I hadn't started at the time, but a lot of my friends from work were videoing it. It seems like it's just a one-off at the moment because it was very negatively reacted to by the rest of New South Wales. And I get where they're coming from. It sucks. Like, these people are losing jobs, businesses, families. I talked to a guy the other day who hadn't seen his family in 24 months because they can't come over here. They're not allowed. But I hate the lockdown. It's just sucks because I can't go see my son. He's only 4, so very young. FaceTime just isn't a thing for him. It's okay for me and the missus because it's FaceTime. We get it, but for him, it's just hard to understand. And
yeah,
I agree to the lockdown because I know that if I do good, eventually it will end. It just doesn't seem like it's going to end. So, and yesterday's Saturday stunt just seems like it's going to. The way the government's going to play it now is they're going to say this is the reason we're locked down further is because of this little stunt. So when really it's kind of trending that way anyway.
So it's interesting.
Still up.
It's interesting because I've seen when I see like conservative or anti-lockdown people in like our part of the world, they're sort of cheering the Australia protest. But when I see people talking about it who actually are from Australia, they seem pretty critical of this protest thing. So what are we missing from here about these protests that's making people so critical of them in Australia?
So we're generally not a country that protests a lot. Like, it's not sort of the thing that we do. We had Black Lives Matter protests like last year in conjunction with you guys, nowhere near as violent. Thank God. But, it happened, and, there was a lot of kick up then.
You mean nowhere near as mostly peaceful, Jamie?
Ours were very much peaceful. Again, happened right outside my work. So I kind of got to see it. But it's very negative, this one, because we all sort of understand, we get told you're all in this together, blah, blah, blah. But then there's, I think it was 3,500 in Sydney, another couple of thousand in Melbourne did the same thing, go out and protest. And last year we saw this happen in Melbourne, and then it ballooned out to make it so much worse. Luckily, they kept it down there. We didn't have to worry about it. But, I mean, it's just looked upon as, you guys in one act of stupidity has just cost the rest of us like another month probably over lockdown. But I think we all understand why they're doing it. We just know that it probably wasn't the best way to go about it. I don't know what the best way is, but yeah, I think the majority of us feel the exact same way.
But when we listen to like psychos like Dr. Kerry Chant and things, that they're that they're dividing you. You know, she wants you to be divided. She wants you to pressure other people to stay the hell indoors for them. So these bureaucrats are more than happy to pit Australian against Australian as long as it, you know, keeps you inside.
Yeah, I knew she was a horrible person when I think it was about a month ago when it just started building up. She said, don't go and see your families. Like, don't risk it to your families by going to see them. And I'm like, it's just easy for someone like her to say who, you know, probably lives in their family could live with her or they're very close. You know, a lot of us have family that live, you know, in the outback up north. Like we live in the city, but we live in country towns when we have our days off. So I knew she was a horrible person when she's just, oh yeah, just don't go see your family. It's not that hard. We all have to sacrifice, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, well, it's so easy to say, but you know, it's incredibly hard to do. And now, you know, this was a month ago. I thought, all right, 2 weeks, I can do this. You know, 5 weeks in now, and I don't see an end in sight. We talked about it today when I was talking to the missus, and it's just one of those things that I just got to deal with, try and get through it. And luckily, I'm working still, so that keeps me going. I get to focus on doing that, but it's definitely getting harder. And like you said, I think everyone is starting to see that this isn't we're all in this together thing. This is not so much a keep control for as long as we can, but the ball is in their court now. And the protest yesterday just threw it even further down their end. They've definitely got it in control, because when it gets worse and they extend it, they're just going to go, well, you know, this lockdown is the reason why we had to extend it. This protest is the reason why we had to extend the lockdown, when in reality, we all know that the cases were going up. The people in the community infected were still high, and it probably wasn't going to drop anytime soon. So it's just an excuse for them.
And you're not the health minister. You work in the trains, you know? Yep. She is. And it's her people who dropped the ball. It's her group in government, in the health corners, that have dropped the ball here. And the reason why the country's not vaccinated, Australia is a very much a first world, sophisticated country. And the fact that you guys aren't at the 50% or 48% vaccination rate, they essentially, they missed. You're a soccer guy, so their goalie saw the ball go by and right through his legs or whatever, and now they're trying to find a reason, you know, something else to do to show that they're still trying, and so now the rest of you guys have to suffer. You know, lockdowns aren't a solution. They're what you do when there is no solution, when you've missed the solution.
When you don't have a plan.
Right. Like, it's not a civilization. Sitting inside not seeing your 4-year-old for months or a year is not a civilization. That's people hiding in bomb shelters, you know?
Yep.
Now, in terms of, like, you say they're saying, like, we're all in it together, right? But what you also say, like, the people who are at the protests are, you know, some of them are out of work and all this stuff. And I know, like, other countries other than the U.S. have more of, like, a social safety net. But what is the government doing things to, like, help people or take care of people who are out of work or struggling right now during all this? Or, you know, have access to medical care, mental health care? This is hard on people, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have the welfare. There is different scales. Like if you've lost, I think between 1 and 19 hours of work a week, you get a certain amount of money. Then anything more than that, you get extra. There's business, like payouts to small businesses to try and keep them going, but obviously it's nowhere near enough to keep them going. And it's like when it was nowhere near as bad as this, like last year, we had so much more money going towards welfare. But I think that was because they figured if we do it now, we get through it now, we won't have to worry about it in the future. But the future's come. We haven't dealt with it yet again, and they can't afford to give what they were giving in the past. Because I think it's something they said it was like $300 million a day goes to these people that have lost hours and work. So my roommate's one of them. He's not working at the moment. Luckily, his company is still paying him, so they don't have to worry about the government handout. But eventually, that can't go on forever. Like this company can't keep paying him when they're not getting any money coming in. So the government will have to, subsidize that, which is it's just going to grow the amount of money they have to spend every day. So, but it's all on them. But at the end of the day, we're the ones who have to pay for it. Like surely in the future, there's going to be tax rises or other things that come into play that, we have to try and claw the deficit. So the people that made these horrible decisions now, when they're kicked out in 2 or 4 years' time, they're not going to have to worry about it. It's going to be us that still have to worry about it.
Yeah. I think it would be easier to believe we're all in it together if the politicians who come up with the lockdowns had to give up their salary during the lockdown period.
Would be nice.
So could you go out for a jog right now for 5 miles, like down the street and back? Or would somebody hassle you?
We're allowed to go out for 5 reasons. So Exercise up to an hour a day.
Up to 1 hour.
Yeah, essential shopping, like going to the shops to get groceries and stuff like that, and toilet paper seems to be the hot option. Medical care, attending a family member, like in regards to a health matter, like looking after them. I can't remember what the fifth one is, but it's really kind of irrelevant. Like, and it's funny because they push social distancing, but when I go down to the beach for my walk down in Cronulla, everyone is together because the path is so small, but we're all out there. So,
right.
And you don't have to wear your mask when you're exercising because, breathing problems, but we're all put together on this path that's 2 meters wide, all going in the one direction, changing ends, but no one social distances because, hey, we don't have to. We're exercising, so it just doesn't seem thought through.
Yeah, no, that's the same thing, and I assume that it was the same thing last year with the Black Lives Matter stuff. That I don't know about over there, but over here, all of our politicians here were all for it. They were like, absolutely, get out there, enjoy it. It's racism's a public health crisis. Get out there, and we're like, wait a second. I thought where everybody's going to die. If everybody's going to die, then that's not good for Black lives. If we're having them spread this virus to each other, did you have the same thing, or were they condemning those marches last year?
No, they condemned him. Like, that's where you got to applaud them that last year they were dead against them and they were trying to stop them. And, yesterday they were, again, dead against them, trying to stop them. The difference was the BLM guys, they did social distance. They wore masks. The guys yesterday just didn't give a shit. Like, no. They just didn't care.
Man, what a time. What a time. So I want to just let people know, were you on with Cullinane? Because you were on
what?
Because
something got tweeted from the.
Yeah, no, you tweeted something that.
Oh yeah, we do a little Aussie Minifan show. Me and a couple of boys who like the Coke Minifan show here. So
listen to this, Alex. This is how the world works now, which is awesome. Jamie discovered the Minahan show because he used to listen to ESPN, the network show, and they'd talk about getting harassed by Kirk and I assume Minifans at that point, and so that. Made Jamie curious. So then he started listening to EEI in the mornings, and then was sucked in. It's so interesting how that works now. Man, wouldn't it be nice to have those guys to have that show to keep you company now? Wouldn't it?
They'd be Jerry and Kirk together would be amazing. It'd be so good. And then Tomasi coming in and just being that liberal douchebag. It would be nice.
It was a great. Yeah, it was a great show. But you got Jerry 4 days a week and Kirk 3 at this point. I wish Kirk were
you guys 5, pretty much.
Yes, absolutely. Us 5. Thankfully, this has been for me, and I don't know you. Like without listening to podcasts for the last year, I would have been freaking dead. There's no doubt.
Yep.
Yeah, we joke that our show is therapy for us to do it.
Yeah, I mean, radio over here is very much the same. Like you got your right wing stuff that's just dead on with everything that the government's doing, and then. Your crappy, terrible music stations. But podcast is where it's at. Like if I didn't have, Kirk, you guys, Jerry, a couple of the ones that are in the Miniverse, a couple of ones over here, sport related that I like, it'd be rough. Like at least it's an escape. Even though, I hear you guys and Jerry talk exactly about what we're going through over here, over there. It's still, hey, at least it's happening to someone else, except you guys have plenty of vaccines and a lot of people are getting vaccinated. We don't have the vaccines, but we want to.
Well, it's not going to stop them from locking us down here again, unfortunately. I think they're working on it. So.
We're going to have our 5 excuses for going outside in no time, I assume. We'll see how that works. So what are you going to do when you see your son? What do you guys going to do when you finally get to hang out again?
He keeps telling me we have this little Lego McLaren car that he bought the day I came back to work. And he said, next time Daddy comes, it was like my missus' way of giving him a gift so that he wasn't too sad.
Right.
And next time I got up there, we were supposed to build it together. So it's been 5 weeks now. It's still sitting in the car. But I'm pretty sure when I get back up there, we'll be doing that.
Oh, good. Good for you, man.
So go play some soccer.
Jamie, by the way, it's God knows what time. Is it 11 p.m. there or something? For us, it's
11:30. Yeah.
11:30.
I'm a night shift guy, so.
It's 9:30 for us a.m. and it's 11:30. It's almost the next day for you.
I'm all set.
I was going to say, just thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it.
Nice.
We feel for you guys. It is follow Jamie B at just Jamie B90. And once again, plug the podcast.
Our podcast is the Circle in Rectangle Show. It's about Australian soccer and international soccer. So we're talking a bit about the Olympics on our next show, which will drop at some stage next week after the group stages. So unless you like soccer, it's probably not for you. But hey, give us a fake Apple review. Tell us how much you love it, even if you don't listen.
Absolutely,
nice.
5 stars. And
if you trash the women's American soccer team, Tom will absolutely listen and plug
Jerry will love it.
I didn't pick them to win, that's for sure.
Good,
so
good.
I thought they were going to struggle this time. So
we're hoping they struggle. What's the Minifan show you do?
The Aussie Minifan show. It's on the Kirk Minahan network, I think. There's 2 of them. The one that the fans are on, that's the one we're on. So.
Is Menners on that one?
Yes, that's Menners.
It is, okay.
Me, Menners, and another dude. So
it's a long story, Alice. I'll give you the story of Menners later. Hey, Jamie, we really appreciate it. Take care, man, and best to you and your family.
Thanks, guys. You too. I'll listen to you today.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you later.
Jamie, awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you once again, Jamie B. from Down Under. I didn't use my Australian accent. I felt that I didn't want him to take a boat here to punch me, as if I was Tucker Carlson.
He's probably not even allowed to take a boat here.
Oh, that's right. He can't leave. He's in jail. He's in jail. He's in jail, Australia. Isn't that interesting how that happens? The penal colony is once again a penal colony. Great guy. You know what? It's so interesting. He's a great guy in great spirits. But can you imagine? This is your reality. If you're there right now, this is your reality.
Good evening. Within hours, Sydney will be in the grip of much tougher restrictions. The Premier clamping down on the stubborn Delta outbreak with what she's calling a no-regrets policy. And this is why. From a record 82,000 tests, the state today recorded 111 cases. And tragically, the 3rd COVID death in this outbreak, a man aged in his 80s from the city's southeast. Across Great...
I'm not meaning to sound insensitive, but is 3 a lot?
No.
In the new pandemic reality, I don't think it is.
To Sydney, retail shops will now close. A small list of essential stores can remain open. Construction sites across the city shut down.
Why?
And from midnight tonight, 110 suburbs across Liverpool, Fairfield and Canterbury Bankstown will be sealed shut. That's 900,000 residents who can't leave their area, even for work.
You can't do that to a population and expect them to be okay in the head after a while.
No.
You can't do that. What you've done, because you failed, and we talked about this with Jamie, you failed on your end now, is you're having everybody just get in bunkers, and hopefully it won't pick too many of us off. Meanwhile, you've been full of restrictions, but not full of vaccines. That's remarkable to me.
Yeah, you have to do the vaccines. I mean, the lockdowns and the masks and whatever can only do so much, and they suck. So you have to either make vaccines available to whoever wants them. It's like the Ron DeSantis philosophy, available to all, mandated for none. And then you have to go about your business and let the chips fall, because that's just how things are, you know? And if they want to develop extra booster shots and somebody out there wants to take them, go for it. Take 100 shots for all I care. I don't care what you do, but you can't come after everybody else and make them do something.
Right. In stateside now, we're looking at these as well, and we've now recalibrated way down to a different level, and we're looking and saying, oh my goodness, there's a spike here, spike here, spike there, spike here. And unbelievably, people are saying exactly what we feared they would say. No, we absolutely have to lock down. Got to do mask stuff. In Connecticut, Ned Lamont in Baker's doing the same. I think is saying we're going to wait for CDC guidance on masks. What are you doing? What are you doing? I can't. If I were any parent, man, if you could do it, take a kid out of public schools. Haven't you seen what the teachers unions think of you? You know what their priorities are. This is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, the mask stuff, to even bring, you know that if Sally was back in that softball league, they would have all those kids right back in masks right now.
Oh, yeah. They'd be so excited to get back in masks. They're like salivating at the thought of making a bunch of little kids put masks back on.
And when I say, why are we doing this, they look at me and say, we're doing it for them. I mean, you try to be considerate of the other side and the kids. What are we doing? What make-believe game is this horse bleep? Anyway, it's crazy, but you're not getting guidance from the top. We're getting BS from the top. Jen Psaki is telling us that the kids are in peril of being sick if we don't have masking on. This is craziness. Remember, and like we said, remember, she decides what gets to Facebook and what doesn't. She decides what's true and what isn't. And to her, truth is to her that your kid has to wear a mask or he's going to suffer. When you know that the kids will suffer if they have masks on. This is it's fine. I don't want to have the same thing because we're going to move along here. But these people have no credibility for a reason. With Fauci today, and once again saying that, and I don't even care. So who cares? He liked this kind of research. What was it called? The research.
Gain of function.
He liked gain of function research. Okay, he liked to make that stuff. He liked his friends. The cool crowd was into that. Okay, I don't even care about that stuff. I want him to shut the hell up and go away. I want these experts to shut the hell up and go away. I want elected officials to start doing their jobs, which means opening the hell up and getting out of the way. It's no longer a situation here where we should be taking a defensive posture. No, we need to rebound from what you put us through last year.
Dan in Billerica says in the Facebook comments, he says, anecdotally, I saw a lot more masks in stores in the Merrimack Valley this weekend. I'm fine with adults wearing them if they want to, but a lot of kids too.
Yeah, I was in Newburyport and I saw a whole bunch.
A whole lot of people are back in masks because they're nervous.
Remarkable. Walking outside. First of all, it's remarkable to me that we were this close to being broken emotionally, mentally, that so many people were. I can't believe it. That's all it took. It took a pandemic to break your mind between that and Trump. That was it. And now you're unrecognizable as people. Unrecognizable. You know, I have close friends of mine. When I wrote in a Substack, that one person had been killed at the Capitol during the attack, which is true. I had people say, I can't believe you're doing that. How you've changed. I haven't changed. I could make more die for you, but I'd have to go back in time and kill more.
A lot more people died at Black Lives Matter protests, actually.
Right. People are now have lost their bleeping minds. And it's being nurtured. This kind of distorted reality is being nurtured and cultivated certainly by the media, half of whom are psychos themselves, and the other half who just think politically this will turn the screws on the opposition. But even listen to this. This is Jen Psaki. Remember, there's some breakthrough cases of the coronavirus in the White House. Remember, it was so important. We needed to know because Trump had a confirmation party for Amy Coney Barrett that everybody got the coronavirus, and we need to know who was next to who and who was next to who and who was next to who. It was so important that we needed to know that bastard Trump, that he did all that stuff and all those people get sick. We needed to know every single movement from everybody. They asked the same thing of Jen Psaki. This is her answer.
One, this administration has long claimed that you're trying to be the most transparent in history. If that's the case, why won't you just release the number of breakthrough cases that you've had of vaccinated staffers?
Well, I think first we're in a very different place than we were 6 to 7 months ago as it relates to the virus. And as many medical experts have said, inside and outside of the government, those who are vaccinated are protected from serious illness. Most are asymptomatic if they are individuals who are vaccinated who get the virus. We are in a different place in terms of the impact of individuals who may have, as you said, breakthrough cases.
Why not just provide the number? Are you trying to hide something?
No, but why do you need to have that information?
What?
Case of transparency, the interest of the public, having a better understanding of how breakthrough cases work here.
Why do you need to have that information? Who's asking? Why? Why are you asking questions like that? That is remarkable that you had this transparent administration say, why do you need that information?
I can't imagine. I mean, I don't think in my lifetime I've ever heard any other press secretary for any other president say something like that.
No.
They went on and on about how Trump is so unprecedented. Trump this, Trump that. Trump did this unprecedented thing. That is the most unprecedented thing to happen in the White House in my lifetime, is a press secretary to say, why do you need to know, to a reporter?
Right.
They're allowed to ask questions. That's why they're there. That's the point of them.
Exactly. They're
not just there to eat cookies and put out your press releases, Jen.
Exactly. And she works at the pleasure of the president, who works at the pleasure of the
people.
Exactly. Right. And so how this is turned upside down, but they're taking it. In the press,
we work for them now.
That should be right there. All these same people who said, Sean Spicer's hiding in the bushes, should have sounded the freaking alarm on Twitter and said, we've got a problematic statement right now. A problematic statement. Mm-hmm. That should have been everywhere. Why do you need to know? Wait, you don't get to ask me why I need to know. You know what that is? That's classic intimidation, too. You know, there was a time when Hillary Clinton, in 2015, she had a big fundraiser and this is how they work. She had a big fundraiser planned in Massachusetts, and they canceled at the last second. I had gotten word from somebody that attendance was low. Nobody bought tickets or nobody, whatever, had RSVP'd for this thing. So I started asking questions right to Stephanie, her heavy, or at the time. And I said, it's interesting how this works. I sent her an email and said, hey, by the way, I'm from the Herald. Hillary bailed out of this thing. What's going on? What are the reasons why? We're trying to talk to the people who run the place right now. I got a phone call from somebody else in another part of the country saying, hey, Tom, how you doing? I understand you had a question about the Hillary Clinton, the rally here. And I said, yeah. He said, what are you thinking? Why are you asking about that in particular? And so they're looking to try to get crumbs as to what I'm thinking so that they can go get on offense, get ahead of it, And, and then I had him say, then somebody else reached out to me as well, and they wanted to make sure, like, what exactly are you asking for? I mean, what is your intention about this? Is there something that you're thinking? They want to, that's what Saki's saying. What do you want to know? Why? What are you working on in that newsroom of yours? What do you guys think? You got a feature? Are you working on some feature about how we're not transparent? Why do you keep asking this question? This is not the deal here where you guys get to ask all these questions of us so you can write big hit pieces on us, which would be just pieces on them. No. Why do you need to know? I wouldn't be surprised.
You go through us.
I wouldn't be surprised if an underling took her aside afterwards and said, "Why are you asking those questions? Hasn't Jen been good to you? Haven't we give you access? We text you guys. We give you. We take selfies with you. We bake for you, like you said."
They do too, because of COVID. There's only certain reporters are allowed in, and some of them are only on a rotating schedule, so they don't get as much opportunity. I mean, the Biden administration is seriously one of the worst for the media and transparency towards the media. And it's incredible that there's not more outrage about it because, well, obviously if it were Trump, they would be freaking out. But it's just incredible. I mean, I think I saw a tweet this weekend that said democracy dies in darkness was actually a pledge.
Oh, that's nice.
So, but yeah, it's seriously you just want what's wrong with these media organizations? But of course, this too, the media is now so just weak and pathetic anyway that they're barely doing any journalism anymore.
Right. Most of them are very unimpressive people, including the people in the scene and control. Most of these people. Now, speaking of that, I guess we'll get to Stelter really quick because he talked about the media is pushing this stuff. He is excited. He's letting you know where the next battle is, and you better get ready.
I think, frankly, this was the week that vaccinated America started to get really fed up. And that's why we're seeing more talk about mandates and more questions about the vaccine resistance in the country. I think that, unfortunately, this divide is growing a lot more strong with every passing week.
Yeah, so there you go. So the battleground is set. It's the vaccinated people versus the unvaccinated people. And you know what? I'm all for him, says Stelter. He's absolutely all in. You must be treated as less than if you're unvaccinated as a potential killer, if not an actual killer. Absolutely. So go, and we're behind you, says CNN. You want to go F with Tucker Carlson in a store? We will make you a hero, like that guy Daniel, whatever did. If you want to screw with somebody in the streets, no problem at all. As long as it's for the right reasons, we are absolutely behind you. This ain't good. Inciting out of a media organization, you're gonna allow people to post stuff on your platform that we don't want you to post. We're gonna call you killers, says the administration of Facebook. Classic intimidation, classic and dangerous stuff.
Right? Yeah, it's clearly designed to make everybody from
Hold on, you can talk to him for a second. You can talk to him for a second. To have it come out of the White House the way it did, as a matter of fact, is nutso, and it's also coordinated. And this messaging, when it's Biden saying they're all killers, and then Psaki saying we were flagging Facebook, and if you get banned from Facebook, we want you banned from everything else. That is incredible that happened last week, and that this media just anything going on? No, nothing really. Really? It's incredible. It's incredible. But they're just if if there's no utility in an angle, which means it goes against conservatives and Donald Trump, and those kind of people, then they're not interested. They're not interested. If there's a machine gun firefight outside of a Nationals game, and they move right along. Unless that's gun violence, in which case that's fine. It's fine. It's not that it's violence. It's not that we've defunded the police. That's just because it becomes gun violence. You know, we have there's another people in a nice area in D.C. are eating or dining, and then somebody else gets in a gunfight over there, and that's no longer violence because the police are gone. That's not just gun violence, and we'll only use that. That's the only angle we have, and that one they're a little more serious because that's their place. But I do want to get to, before we go to the Patreon only part, I do want to talk for a moment. We talked about the Democrats, the Texas Democrats in D.C. These guys, I think, are the most wretched, disgraceful clowns that we've seen in politics, probably in 30, 50 years. These Democrats in D.C., fine. They leave Texas, they run away, they take selfies of themselves on the private planes flying to D.C. from Texas because they don't want to be there and let the Republicans vote on voting bills that are perfectly reasonable and very much like the bills that were active 2 years ago. So Democrats fly to D.C., they take all the selfies, they're on the plane, private planes, which shows you how bright they are, with case of Miller Lite, etc. And they get there, they pretend that they're received as conquering heroes. They pretend that they're seen as celebrities. They get there, they sing Amazing Grace.
We will overcome.
Oh, we will overcome. I'm sorry. At essentially a press briefing by Democrats on Capitol Hill. They don't sing it well. They then start talking about all the sacrifices they're making for democracy because they can't have Jim Crow happen again. These morons are, of course, they're delusional. That's fine. They're delusional and all that. And they start talking about how they're having to do laundry and this and as if anybody ever made them leave. They abandoned their posts, called themselves heroes while doing it, and immediately started complaining about how tough things were.
It's really incredible. The whole, and like the media's going along with it. They're writing these puff pieces about like, can you believe they had to miss their wedding in the Capitol? Because no, they didn't have to miss their wedding in the Capitol. Right. They could have just gone and voted on the bill and taken the L like normal people do. Everybody votes on bills all the time. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's how it goes. You don't get to be sore losers and just run away for months to try and avoid.
Or if you're going to run away, if you're going to be a coward and leave, then hang your head in shame at least. Don't pretend that you're civil rights era heroes. No, please. So now this is how low they've gotten. This is a time where, if it were me, I would think maybe I should. You know what? I shouldn't say it. Okay, Democrats now, the Dallas Democrats now, are begging the public for help, for reinforcements, for supplies, because their poor, decamped delegation in D.C. is barely managing to survive. They're all staying in hotel rooms, but somehow they can't handle the accommodations in D.C., and somehow, I don't know what it is there. They're barely alive is what I'm getting. This is still search and rescue, but it could be search and recover very soon, I think. Listen to this. Democrats in D.C. tweet out, Blue Heart. Our Dems in D.C. said this is Democrats in Dallas about the Dems in D.C. Our Dems in D.C. said they'd appreciate care packages from home. My 6-year-old niece. Before 5 p.m. Tuesday, we're collecting Dr. Pepper, salsa, hard candy, hairspray, travel toiletries, hand sanitizers, sewing kits, first aid, and or money to pay shipping. Thank you. And it tells you where to do it, where to meet in office, and where to meet in Dallas to do it. Okay, among other things, whoever was in charge of ordering the list, it scares the hell out of me that there's somebody who's a paid, breathing, sentient human being who made this decision to list Dr. Pepper first, salsa second, hard candy third. This is remarkable. Not to mention hairspray, travel toiletries, hand sanitizer. Any of these sewing kits? What exactly are you doing there? Are you going to sew a big help me flag and wave it out the hotel window?
I'm pretty sure DC has tailors. A lot of people wear suits there, I think.
I would think that they probably do have tailors. I would think that they also have Dr. Pepper and salsa and Dr. Pepper. I'm sorry, Alice. I happen to be a...
Where is DC? Because apparently it's not where
totally
I
shut
thought
off.
it was.
DC and Sydney, Australia, are the two most reclusive places in the world. Can't get any of this stuff there. Maybe the duty-free shop at the airport. That's it. But Alice, I am a fat. Can we agree on that?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, I'm a fat. Let me tell you, looking at the passenger manifest on that plane, there are some big folks in that plane. I'm telling you, as a fat, representing the fat, don't request Dr. Pepper and hard candy. Okay? I can imagine how the engines of that plane were struggling under the weight coming to DC. If they gain any more weight going to DC, they're going to need a C5A or something. So don't do it. Don't do it. This is so pathetic. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
It's much like the CHOP thing, the people in Chaz. Okay, we're moving, and this is ours now. We need food and water. Okay, tough guys, you need food and water.
Yeah, so we're about to wrap the main show now, and then we'll head to the extra Patreon exclusive part.
All right. So the main show,
winding
folks,
down.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody.
You can, as always, find us on Twitter and Facebook. We are at Burn Barrel Pod or Facebook.com/Burn Barrel Podcast. You can also shoot us an email. That's burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com or burnbarrelpodcast.com is there too. You might have noticed we're talking to some viewers watching live. You can sign up to do that on Patreon, patreon.com/Burn Barrel. If you're into that, we're also on Locals as well.
C'est la vie.